Welcome on behalf of FSM Media, Doug and Emily. And you guys not only were the stars of the show, but if I did my research right, Doug, did you write all of the episodes? Is that right?
Well, I wrote the storylines
Okay.
for 196 episodes, and I wrote 600 songs for the series.
Oh my gosh.
So each show was a mini musical for kids, as you know.
Yeah. And what I loved learning about them is that yours was an opportunity to encourage children to talk about big feelings, right? And I think it's really important that they shows like that maybe have an opportunity to come back, because I think that there's really as a mother of a teen and a just turned, not teen, my son turned 20 this month.
You don't look old enough to have a 20-year-old.
Well, thank you for that. You know, there's a lot of big feelings happening and a lot of big things happening in the world right now. And you know, I grew up on two shows back when there was three channels, four if you include PBS, and they were Sesame Street, and I watched the new Zoo Revue. And so, you know, you had your ABCs, and then you had a show that was about like feelings. And I think that, you know, now kids have a lot of access to a lot of things, but maybe not so much that helps them deal with a lot of the stuff that they're seeing. So I
Yes.
thought maybe you might want to speak to that.
Well, I'll tell you, when I created the show, I wanted to do just that, talk about relationships and feelings and really not teaching kids, but showing kids how to be kind, how to have tolerance, how to be positive in their thinking, and that they can do and accomplish whatever they want to. As long as you treat each other with love and respect and how you want to be treated. And so I let the other shows do ABC 1, 2, 3, and we kind of concentrated on a storyline that tried to give kids an example of how to behave.
Definitely. Well, on that front, I have to ask, how does it feel to still be something of rock stars? Because, you know, my generation is still pretty obsessed with you. I hear that there were a lot of tears at Comic-Con. And so I think it's fair to say that you must have made something of an impression, and did make a lot of us feel.
I think that's definitely true. And our daughter started that Facebook page. None of this would have happened if it weren't for our oldest daughter, who was born the last season of that we taped the new Zoo Revue. And we really had no idea of the depth of feeling that those of you that we call our new Zoo kids have, the memories that you have. And that's why at Comic-Con, we did have people coming and they would just be crying. And then I would start crying, and we would talk about what area of their life the show had meant something. And for some people, it was that I remember one gentleman who said that his mother had passed away recently, and he remembered always watching New Zoo Revue sitting on her lap. We meet other people that remember, oh my goodness, I always had a grape jelly sandwich and some chocolate milk, and I watched New Zoo Revue. And we've heard from like some children that were very sick, and it was a comfort to them, and other children who had very problematic homes, difficult childhoods. And we were like their aunt and uncle or their substitute parents or something that we never realized. So it's been very, very rewarding.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I love you. I love our new Zoo kids. My heart is just filled with love, and it's very emotional for me because I see that these were little children that grew up and are making wonderful contributions to their communities. And, our daughter Joanna always has good ideas of things that we can do. Like one time, she knows I'm a big animal lover and a
I
fur
guess.
baby. She said, post pictures of your fur baby. So everybody started putting pictures of their fur babies up. I'm going to ask her if sometime everybody can post a picture of when they were little and what they look like now. And that would be fun for me.
Oh,
also,
yeah.
one of the wonderful things about that we found our show had an influence on was the careers that people have.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, we've had people come up and say, I became a teacher because of your show. I became an architect because of your show. I mean, just a myriad of professions were somehow inspired by our little show.
Yeah.
And who knew
Oh,
back then, Traci,
definitely.
I mean,
And that was really fun at Comic-Con because I asked everybody, I said, well, now what are you doing now? And there were librarians, there's law enforcement, there's lots of teachers, a lot of musicians, a lot of people that are in, techie stuff that I don't
Right.
understand. But it's
dentists, doctors.
yeah. And you're right. All of them seem to want a resurrection of the show, for their grandchildren, their children. And it is needed.
Right.
I agree with that.
Yeah, no, I think that's so true, is that, I love when something that I treasured is available to me for my children, whether it's still the Peanuts are available, watching, like Great Pumpkin. I still make my kids sit down and watch Great Pumpkin with me. Or, or for years, getting ready for school, I would have Sesame Street on in the morning, and I would watch it with them,
Sure.
and
I do
so
too.
I love that they would still, that you would hear that they would want this around for them, and I would love to hear that a new that a new incarnation would come, even if mine are too old now. Like, I would love to hear that when my children's children, which won't be anytime soon, but when the time is right,
Yeah.
that they would have some version of the new Zoo Revue, because I think that those are touchstones for us, right?
I do too.
That those are just as, hundreds of years ago, people would sit around fires and repeat the same story that they had always heard. Well, for us, those are television shows, right? Or movies, when my daughter watched 16 Candles for the first time, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that you're hearing people say, no, you have to bring it back, because that means that it was part of their forming.
Yeah, and it's important now, because don't you find that some of the shows now are a little bit dark and negative, and I don't like that for kids.
I agree.
We wanted to talk to kids and with kids, not down to them, and not give them any kind of crazy agenda. Just be kind.
There's nothing, two of my favorite words in the world put together are be kind. Like, that's literally what much of what I share today across all of my platforms are. You always have time to be kind.
Yes.
And I
love your analogy of the pebble. I just love that.
Oh, yes. Wow, you really did do a deep dive. I love you. I love you guys.
Well, listen, we because we're educators, I think we would like to know about people.
Well, I'd like to know what you remember about the show. I'd like to know what you remember, where you were when you watched it, and what your memories are.
Well, for me, remember that our TV was really big. Like the width of it, the console was about the width of our couch, right? And
Oh,
our coffee
A big
table. It was one of
TV.
those that was like a giant piece of furniture. And I would kind of like lie down the end on the floor, and my mother would be in the kitchen, getting ready for my father to come home. And I would just be in the carpet, which was orange, and it was
tag.
kind of shaggy, and just feeling like comfortable. Like
Mhm.
and I would kind of put my back against our coffee table, which was again like everything was very long. Furniture was very solid then, and just being kind of just stretched out almost the length of it, even though I was a little girl. But like, if you stretched yourself out
Mhm.
at 3 and 4, you would be like a good length, and
Mhm.
loving, the colorful, the frog and Freddie, right? Freddie
Yeah,
Frog.
Freddie. Yeah.
And and just feeling it was very happy,
Mhm.
and it was about friendship, and just and I loved singing, and I loved that it had music at its base,
Mhm.
because like I sing all the time. I still kind of do. Like I always say, like I wish I had carried a little tape recorder with me all the time, because I should have done Mommy the musical, and I just should have just taken a tape recorder to my phone and like taken that to a musician who could have like transposed it, because I just was always like writing songs without trying, right?
Oh no.
And so yeah, I just remember it was just like very like a happy time, like
Mhm.
just that mid-afternoon period of time where it was just like post nap, waiting for dad, warm
Mhm.
in the sun, through the window,
Mm,
afternoon period.
wow.
Mhm.
Uh, do those exist anymore?
And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, our cast was so close. They're just wonderful. And I have such happy memories of when we taped those shows. And just like you, I maybe because we were both theater people, it was very easy for me. Like with Henrietta, I loved Henrietta. And I just, even as an adult, I thought, oh, I wish I could go to Henrietta's house and have tea. And, it was magical for me to do something in that little set.
I believe it, because I was the same way with with Mr. Rogers. I always imagined I would go down into the king's little land too. Like
Yes.
I always had that ability to put myself into that world. So
Yeah,
yeah, same thing. So, and you guys
absolutely.
just were it was very charming, and I think that's why people carry it with them all these years later, 50 years later, and we still want to go back to the zoo. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
um the we won't make you wear the knee socks again unless you really, really want to. But,
No, thank you. Those
but
white boots, those white boots that so many little girls wanted for
oh
Christmas.
yeah.
They burned up in a fire.
Yeah.
They
Oh
don't
my
exist
gosh.
anymore. Yeah.
But
Along with all the costumes.
yeah,
It was
a
a,
lot of the 70s clothing was easily flammable.
yes.
But
But really,
we'll take the songs and the friendship. We'll do
Yeah,
yeah,
that.
for sure.
yes.
Well, what is your hope, now that your daughter 10 years ago has started at the ball rolling, and it's on fire now, or I mix metaphors, because usually that's a snowball, but I was thinking, being from Texas, I'm more like the tumbleweed rolling, whatever
Tumbleweed.
the metaphor may be. Things are happening. Like, what would be your hope going forward?
Well, we would love to see a resurrection of it. And you know, we've done a little opening animation of our theme song with animated Doug and Emmy Jo and Freddie, Charlie, and Henrietta. And it's on our Facebook
It
page.
got a huge response. If you scroll back through the Facebook page,
Yeah.
it's a ways back. But
it kind of captures the charm and what we wanted it to capture, but in a fresh way.
yeah. Oh, I just loved it. I thought it was
you know,
perfect.
Well,
being
I will
animated,
definitely
it's
scroll back, and I'll
yeah,
share that when we're going to share the interview on our FSM Media page for Die, and then I will also be hosting this on my blog, A Star in My Own Universe, and I will share a little link to the animation, so everyone will get a
oh,
chance
that'd be
to see
great.
that
Yeah,
as
but
well.
that, you know, we're kind of thinking that's the way to go, maybe to reach kids nowadays, you know.
Because their visual is so different. So there'll
It
be the
is.
visual expectation, but with the spirit that it's the same
Exactly.
across all the 50 years, because that hasn't changed.
Yeah, and all of the subjects we covered are evergreen. They're still
Right. No,
applicable today.
children's hearts are the same. Just because they're used to seeing things visually a little different, that doesn't matter. But a child's heart is a child's heart.
That's
Exactly.
right. That's
exactly.
right.
And they need to be a child for a while before we force them into adulthood.
I agree. I absolutely believe that. Yeah, I tell my kids, I'm like, don't rush into being an adult, because once you become one, you don't get to go back. I'm like, everybody's
right.
in a rush to grow up. You only get one shot at being the kid. So just be a kid as long as you're allowed to be it, because when you cross that filament, it's done. So
Yeah. Well, what a good mother you are.
Yeah.
oh, thank you. Well, this has been my absolute pleasure, and I really do appreciate your looking into me too. This has made it such a joy, because like I'm getting to meet people that I've looked up to. And so the fact that you took such time to get to know me beforehand is as making me a little Comic-Con-y here. You guys
Well,
are everything that I hoped you would be all these years. So, and I really hope that this helps continue the progress to getting it available, so that by the time my not happening anytime soon grandchildren are around, they will have plenty of episodes of the new new Zoo Revue to watch. And I will share all of the new Facebook page and all of that with our audience, so they can find you now.
Thank
that
you.
would be wonderful. And if you're ever in North Texas, you be sure to get in touch with us, and we would love to take you to dinner. Just
oh my gosh,
some time visiting. Wouldn't that be
Absolutely.
fun?
Oh, that would be
because I found out something else too, that you performed at the Alley Theater in Houston.
Oh my goodness.
Because I performed at the Dallas Theater Center.
I was at the Young People's Theater. I taught there for years.
That's amazing. See, I was in the teen theater at the Dallas Theater Center for years.
My goodness.
Many years before you, but I just think that's an amazing parallel.
You know, God's world is amazing and small place. So big and small all at once.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we're proud of you.
Well, thank you so much. Well, you have made my heart. It wasn't a Grinch's heart, I hope, but it still grew 3 times. So thank you so much for your time today. And on behalf of Diane and FSM Media as well.